Thank you very much. Hello, Errol.
Hey, how's it going?
Everything is good, thank you. Errol, obviously it's a big fight for you, and I was looking back at some of your previous fights, and, you know, even though so many people regard you as a top pound-for-pound caliber guy, you have a world title, I wonder, in your mind, do you view Porter as your biggest test? Because if you go back through the best opponents that you have faced, he seems like he's probably Lamont was a little bit older. Ocampo was not that well-known. Garcia is terrific, but was obviously much smaller. Porter seems to be a guy that is much more would be on your equal than maybe those other guys were. What is your opinion of that?
I mean, I see him as a tough test just because he's a world champion and just his fighting style. He's a guy that's aggressive and throws a lot of punches and is very energetic. So, I mean, that's why I see it as a tough test. Cause he's a rough guy. You know, he can't get dirty at times, and he does whatever it takes to win. So, I mean, just from that aspect, and him beating Danny Garcia, I see him as a tough test.
And when you fight him, you mentioned his rough style and that sort of stuff. You know, it's not a secret that he does have a rough style, that he, whether it's on purpose or it's just the way he goes, there's elbows in his fights, there's some headbutts in his fights. You know, it gets a little messy in there sometimes. How are you prepared to deal with that element of the physicality that he brings that's not necessarily to the exact letter of the rules?
I can be a very physical person too, and like I said, I'm not of a small stature, so I'm a guy that I feel like I can ward that off or fight it off, or may do the exact same thing. So I just feel like as physical wise, I'm either more physical than him, or just as strong as him. So I mean, I feel like that won't really play a part in this fight.
Okay, and when you were deciding after you had fought the Mikey Garcia fight earlier in the year, and it came down to you and your team getting together and sort of figuring out what the plan was it Porter specifically that you wanted to fight? Did you want a unification fight of some type regardless of who your opponent was? Were you disappointed that you couldn't get Pacquiao next, and so you sort of settled for Porter? I'm just looking for your thoughts about how this particular match came about.
I was just looking for the next available guy, and I wanted a unification fight too. And Shawn Porter was the easiest fight to make and the quickest fight to make, so that's why I decided with to fight Shawn Porter.
All right, so it was not him specifically, because I think I remember before the Mikey or after the Mikey fight that you really had your mind on hoping that you could maybe line up a matchup with Pacquiao, who had come to Dallas, was in the ring with you after the fight. A lot of people thought that might be the next fight. What were your thoughts about not getting Pacquiao but taking on Porter instead?
I knew it was a chance I wasn't going to get Pacquiao. I mean, Pacquiao is the bigger name, and it would have been a bigger fight, so of course I wanted that fight. But I mean, Shawn Porter is the champion too, and he has the belt, so I definitely wanted to unify too. So I always knew that if I couldn't get Pacquiao, that it was going to be a big chance that I was going to fight Shawn Porter.
And one more question for you, Errol. We don't know how the pay-per-view on this is going to do, obviously, just until the fight's over with. But in your mind, do you view the fight between yourself and Shawn as a bigger fight than the one with Mikey? Mikey, I guess, had maybe a little bit of a bigger name, maybe a bit of a bigger fan base. I think most people would look at the fight between yourself and Shawn as perhaps a more competitive fight. Where do you stand on that? Which is the bigger fight in your mind?
I think Mike Garcia is a real big name in Shawn Porter, but as a fan-friendly fight or as an entertaining fight, I would say, this fight with Shawn Porter is going to be, I feel like way more entertaining and way more swings than the Mikey Garcia fight if it didn't have any. So, I feel like the Shawn Porter fight, just because it's a unification fight and it's a real fight, I feel like, the Shawn Porter fight is bigger.
All right,
name-wise,
go ahead. Finish up what you're saying.
I said name-wise, I would say the Garcia fight was bigger.
Gotcha. All right, Errol, thank you very much for that. I appreciate it and look forward to seeing you next week.
And our next question is coming from Carlos Toro of Fightful.com.
Hey, Errol, thanks so much for being on this call. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
My first question, obviously, the last fight against Mikey Garcia, that was a pay-per-view event. Now this one being your second pay-per-view event. When it comes to sort of, I guess, dealing with the media or any obligations that you have that doesn't necessarily correlate to preparing for the fight itself against Shawn Porter, do you think that it's been easier this time around just because you have the experience of preparing for a pay-per-view event against Mikey Garcia, or would you say this is more or less the same?
I think it's a lot easier because the first fight, my first pay-per-view, I was, traveling to New York doing things and, then going back to California doing things. So, I was basically, going in and out of camp, doing other different things. So I would say the first time it was harder than the second go around.
Yeah, I asked Shawn this question earlier in the call, and I wanted to pose this question to you. Do you believe the winner of this fight should be considered the best welterweight in the world, given that the winner will hold 2 of the 4 world titles from the sanctioning body?
Definitely. There's no way around it. The winner is the unified champion, so I definitely think, it should be considered, the number 1 welterweight in the world. I already consider myself as number 1 welterweight in the world anyway, so, with myself holding 2 belts, it just makes me, by a landslide.
Thanks, Errol, and best of luck on September 28th. Looking forward to the fight.
Thank you.
All right, our next question is coming from John Cudney of Reddit Boxing.
Oh, hi, Errol. Thanks for being on the call today. So, question, I've been following your career basically since you turned pro, and you rarely claimed or spoken out that you're going for a knockout. So just wondering if you can talk about that. This fight, you've been a lot more vocal that you're going for a knockout, that you would knock Shawn Porter out. Usually you're a little more reluctant to say that. Just wonder if that, has to do with his style, how your styles will mesh, your overall respect for him as a fighter, or just the mindset you're bringing to this fight that you just, it's just something you really want this time around?
Just overall, just my mindset and something that I want, and just, I feel like, the way he fights and the way he comes forward and the way, how sometimes, he's kind of reckless aggressive. I think, I can exploit that. So, it's just my whole mindset. Even before camp, to try to get the knockout, but not force. I'm not going to try to go in there and just force the knockout, but I'm going to try to work him down. Yeah.
Okay. One more quick question. So I believe you have never been cut as an amateur or a pro. I know that's been a storyline in this promotion. Just wondering first if you can confirm that you've never been cut as an amateur or a pro, and also how that's factoring in your mindset going into this fight. It's a big topic of discussion in the boxing world, especially after Fury had that horrible cut over the weekend. Wondering if that could be a factor in this fight.
No, it's not a factor, so I guess it happens. So, never been cut, nothing, so never had a swelled up eye or anything like that. So, hey, I'm blessed. So, not none of that.
Okay, so it's not something you guys are overly focused on going into this fight.
No, I never worry about it.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time, Errol. Good luck.
Thanks.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to get in line to ask a question, just press star 1. Again, to ask a question, press star 1. And our next question is going to come from Hans of Round by Round.
Hey, Errol, what's going on? Just going to jump right into it. In all of your fights, you usually look really good, whether you're knocking somebody out or, outboxing a guy for 12 rounds like you did for Mikey Garcia. It's never ugly or anything like that. It's just, a really pretty fight. How do you kind of prepare mentally for a fight where for a fact it's not going to be just you outboxing a guy or you just coming in getting like a real easy and, eye-pleasing win and things like that? Like, how do you prepare for that, physicality that's going to come with that fight?
Just basically train hard. There's no way to prepare for it, but just prepare mentally for it and, find different sparring partners that gonna bring the heat, gonna bring the pressure and gonna make you uncomfortable. So, that's the only way you can prepare for it. I had 9-10 weeks to prepare for it, so I feel like I'm ready, and I know that, basically I just got the inner grit and the inner toughness to withstand anything they come with.
Gotcha. Another thing that I wanted to ask you was, I'm not sure if he's the toughest opponent you ever fought. I would probably say that it's maybe Kell Brook, but would you say that he's the toughest style that you ever had to, probably deal with in the ring, or at least preparing for?
It could be. I wouldn't know to the fight over, but looking on the film, he's a tough guy that comes forward and try to beat you up. So, it could be.
Gotcha. And just my last question for you was, kind of piggyback on what somebody else said about you being so vocal about getting the knockout and things like that. I know usually you don't speak about it, but that's probably something that you look for in every fight. Are you trying to, probably set more of a statement in this fight? Your last fight, you really sent the statement to everybody, like, you can outbox one of the best boxers in the world. If you were to knock out a guy like Shawn Porter, it's a statement that, your power, even though everybody knows you have power, but your power is on really another level to stop a guy like Shawn, who's been in there with some really hard punches. So, is that the statement that you're trying to send right now?
Not necessarily that statement. It's just something that, I really want to do. It's one of my goals is to knock him out. So, it's just something that, even before camp, when I decided about the fight, it's just something I want to do. It's just like, knock me out, I want to knock him out. So, I'm not going there, over anxious and wild and things like that. I want it to be a calculated knockout.